doing? I'm Randy. You're here, I imagine, because you're experiencing issues with your LG front load washer and you're considering replacing the shock absorbers. I imagine that means that your machine is making loud rattling noises, or it's moving all over the place in your house, jumping up and down. And if that's the case, then yes, you definitely want to replace those shocks. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and order the parts. There are 3 shock absorbers on almost all of LG's front loads. A few models have 4, but for the most part, it's safe to say that yours probably has 3. Now, the thing about these shock absorbers is that you don't have to buy OEM. A lot of appliance technicians, they're going to tell you that OEM is the best way to go, and OEM is always good, but it is pricey. Plus, you have to order them and you have to wait for them to come in usually. I mean, you might have an appliance parts store near you, but the prices are crazy. So if you go on Amazon and you put this part number in right here, you're going to come up with a big long list of a whole bunch of different sellers that have these, and they're roughly 20 bucks for a set of 3. Might be able to catch them for a little bit less, a little bit more, but generally 20 bucks is about where it's going to stand. Now, depending on your model, your shock absorbers probably going to look a little bit different than this. Okay, you want to make sure that you get the ones that looks like a square with these little lines going down it here. Okay, so the standard OEM ones, there's like 4 or 5 different kinds that LG puts on their different models, and what I have found over the last 8 years is that these are universal. They will work for every single LG model out there, no questions asked. And also, my experience with these specific shock absorbers is they last. I don't think that I've ever had a customer come back after the fact and tell me that their machine was shaking all over the place and it was because it had bad shocks. So for what that's worth, they seem to be good quality, pretty much no matter who you buy them from. This is definitely something that you can do, and I would encourage you to try to do it yourself, because an appliance technician like myself, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg for something that, like I said, is very inexpensive and definitely something that you can do yourself. And now I'm going to go ahead and get into it and show you exactly what you need to do. All right, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is come to the back of your machine, and you're going to see this panel. Okay, and the panel has 4 screws that hold it in place. There's going to be one here, one right here, there's one over here, and one down here. You're just going to want to remove those 4 screws so that we can take that panel off. All right, now you can go ahead and just pull this panel off, and all you got to do is just kind of pull it out towards you, set it off to the side, and that gives you access to the back. Now, you have 3 shock absorbers inside your machine. The first one is back here. It's a little bit difficult to see, but there is a shock absorber right here, and then on the opposite side, there is one right back over here. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and replace this one right here. Now, I did want to show you this. This is not very common. I just bought this machine from somebody on Marketplace, and as you can see, the bottom of this shock is actually completely broken off, so it was causing it to bounce all over the place. And you can see down at the bottom there is the other end of it that snapped. Again, that is not super common, but it can happen, and if that does happen, it will cause your machine to bounce all over the place. So now to start taking the shock out, you'll notice that there is a plastic pin that holds it in place here, and there is another one down here. Okay, this is what the pin looks like, and it's got this little plastic tab right here. So when you push it through, this white part right here, this white plastic from the machine here and up here, it slides through and the tab gets pressed down, And then once it pops out the other side, or once it comes through the other side, this pops up and locks it in place. So the first thing we're going to want to do is take those out. And a little trick that I have learned over the years is the easiest way to do that is you want to go ahead and get a 13 millimeter deep socket. Okay, you're going to take that 13 millimeter deep socket and you're going to stick it right over the end that has the tab on it, and you can just leave it there. And then you take a pair of channel locks and you come and you grab the other side and you just wiggle it out. Okay, now that we got that one out, this wouldn't normally be the case. Normally you would pull this out and the bottom would be attached and you could, you know, bring it back towards you, but this one's broken, so it came completely off. Now you can do the same thing with the bottom. You take your 13 millimeter deep socket, pop it on there, take your channel locks, and pull that one out. Just be careful when you're back here because there are a lot of sharp pieces, metal that can cut you. So now that that's out, we can pop out the other part of that was broken. Pull the socket out, and then you can go ahead and take your new shock absorber and just place it down in there. You want to line up the holes, and then take your pin here and stick it through, and just kind of push it part way in with your hand, and you can take a hammer and finish hammering it in. And then you want to do the same thing with the top. So now this actually separates, not separates, but it moves. Okay, so you can pull it up until you get it lined up, and then go ahead and take your pin again, pop it in there, and hammer that one in. Now to get to the other two shock absorbers that were on the sides, it really just depends on what route you want to go. So if you have a front load washer that doesn't have a pedestal, there is a hole in the bottom of the machine that will give you access. Issue is that more than likely your washer is inside your house, so you may or may not have enough space to do this, depending upon how big your laundry room is. But it definitely is easier than having to take the machine apart. So if possible, I would say take your machine outside, and I'll show you the best way to access it from the bottom. Now, in the event that your washing machine is on a pedestal and you don't want to have to remove it from the pedestal, or if you don't have the ability to get your washer out of your house, then at that point you wouldn't want to do it this way. You would want to actually remove the lid from your machine and take the whole front panel off to get access to it like that. I'm not going to cover that specific way to do it in this video. I will in the future do another video that shows you how to do it that way, but for now I'm going to show you how to access it from the bottom. Okay, so to access the machine from the bottom, you're going to want to turn it on its side. You can do this two ways. I prefer to do it with a dolly because I have one. If you don't have a dolly, you can lay a blanket on the ground, and then you're just going to want to tilt your machine onto its side and gently lay it down. And now that it's on its side, you can see the hole that I was talking about that gives you access to the bottom. And if you get down in here, you can see that you have access to the pin right there at the top that holds it in place, and the other pin that is down here that holds it in place. And another thing I do want to point out is you see right here, you see all this grease. So like I showed you, the one in the back was actually broken, so they definitely need to be changed out. But when you see the grease coming out of it like this, it means that the shock is on its way to being bad. That grease is packed up inside and it's not supposed to be coming down like that. And when you do see it, it means that they are starting to fail. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. You're gonna wanna do the same thing here, okay? You wanna make sure that on this side that the pin is pushed in all the way first, and then take your 13mm and stick it right over it. And as you can see, it's a pretty snug fit. It shouldn't fall off. And then you can get up in there with the channel locks and pull it out on the other side. Now, sometimes they're tricky and it takes a minute to wiggle them out of there. Sometimes they just slide out really easily. You do want to be careful because there are areas down here where it's sharp and you don't want to cut your fingers. It is possible to do this without a 13mm if you wanted to reach in there. If you wanted to reach in there and, you know, use your finger to press on that tab while you're trying to pull it from the other side, you could do that as well. I personally don't like it just because they usually have a little bit of grease on them, and it can I just don't like the way it feels on my hands. This one's being really stubborn, but I got it started. And if you get it started and it's still kind of hard, you can take your hammer and hit the side of it. I know the camera angle is not very great. It's tricky to get in here, but I'm doing my best to show you. So now that that pin is out, come down here to this one. Take your socket again and just repeat the process. Pull your shock out. Get your new one and just put it right back in that slot right there. Line up the holes. Get your pin started. I like to go when I'm putting the tab back in. I know we took it out from this side. I found over time that it is easier to put it in from this side. You have more space to use a hammer to hammer it in. And then put that back up in the slot. And same thing, if you want, you can go from the back to the front with the little plastic tab holder, or you can go from the front to the back. And we'll just go ahead and pick our machine up. And now we'll do it from the other side. All right, now you can come to the last one, and this side is a little bit easier to deal with. It's a lot more open. You don't have the drain pump in your way or anything like that. So same exact thing. Put that on there. Just pull it out the other side. Down here, same thing. Slip it over. Pull it out. Pull your old shock out. And get your new one in here. You just want to line up the holes. Come up top, squeeze it in there, line up the holes again, pop your pin in, get it about halfway, and hammer that one in. And as far as the repair goes, that's it. Okay, so now I just wanted to show you when you got your old shocks out, you can see this, all this gunk on here that I was talking about earlier, all the grease that's coming out, and this shock separates very easily. It should not come apart that easy. It should have a lot of tension to it. It should be kind of hard to pull out. When it starts to do that, that's what causes your machine to bounce all over the place, because this thing is just going in and out and your machine is rocking side to side. So we'll go ahead and throw these away. I'll get back to picking that machine up. I'll go ahead and put the that metal panel back on the back with the 4 screws. You don't need me to walk you through that. But that's it. That's all there is to it. Like I said, it's fairly simple, relatively inexpensive, definitely something that you can do yourself. I hope that I was able to help you with that process. We'll catch you next time.